down to the abyssal lair of the radiophonic sea creatures. Contort your bones and flesh into a small ball, then roll amok through the air vents because I, Tokyo Choo Choo, am going to be your host today. And with me as always is a man who suckled the meat from Crocomire's flash-fried bones. It's Human Metal. Well, I guess first we should address the elephant in the room, obviously. Human Metal's mother, leave the room. Right, she's gone. Okay, so the elephant's out the way. But no, of course I'm talking about the elephant in the room. Brack is not here because, well, who gives a fuck where Vagina Mouth is anyway? We'll get on much better without him. Oh, Brack, please come back and save us. Oh, Brack, we miss you. So today we're going to be talking about Metroid. So we're actually going to spend the whole episode basically talking about all the games in the Metroid series. Well, almost all of them, the ones that matter anyway. Definitely not going to be talking about Hunters or that fucking pinball game.
I heard the pinball game isn't too bad, actually.
Yeah. Well,
and I actually know a living person that liked Hunters, so whatever. Every game has its fans.
Yeah. I mean, I'm one of the people who seems to think that, like, Space Marine is one of the best action games ever made, so I'm kind of weird in that boat.
Mm.
Yeah, but so Brack's not here to make anti-Metroid jokes because he's never played it and doesn't know what he's talking about, that beardy fuck. So let's get straight into the juices and talk about the first game on the NES. Human Metal. What's your thoughts or feelings about the Famicom version of Metroid?
Yeah, it's the first Metroid game I played actually because my NES was the first console I owned and wasn't one of my first games. I think I got it pretty late, but yeah, I still enjoyed it. It was I wasn't able to play it through like with the normal armor back then, but there was this code that you could enter that would basically make Samus run around in a swimsuit. Without her armor, but for some reason she got the strongest weapons and everything right from the start. So I used that and actually managed to finish that game because, it's even more so now. But even back then, if you didn't have a map, that game is really, it could get really confusing because of the tile sets and everything. A lot of the stuff looked samey. It wasn't like as differentiated as Super Metroid and the later games were. Like you couldn't tell some of the stuff apart, like where am I right now? What do I have to do? Where's the stuff hidden? So I used a special code. I actually managed to finish it. It was fun, and it's already had like this very nice feel of isolation and being on your own and trying to get up there monsters at every turn. What the series has been famous for, and and the very basics of the level design and would it be get famous for later on too. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't play through it again today. Maybe I'll try someday, but yeah, I think I would pick another Metroid game for sure if I want to play one.
Yeah, actually, to be honest, this is quite a embarrassing sort of thing to admit, but I never actually got around to playing Metroid on the Famicom. My entry point for Metroid was actually Super Metroid on the SNES, on the Super Famicom. So, in fact, I don't think I even knew Metroid's existence. I think when I was actually playing on the Famicom, but of course, since that time, I have gone back and I've tried to play Metroid both on. I think you could, when you completed one of the other Metroid games. I think the original Metroid became playable, so I think I played it on whatever version of the game that was. I think it was Zero Mission actually. After you finished Zero Mission, the original Metroid became available to play, the NES version.
That's possible. Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah. I think so. I think I'm right about that. And I also tried it on emulator, but when you've been spoiled by games like Super Metroid and Zero Mission,
it's hard to go back.
Original Metroid.
Yeah,
it is hard to go back, and you don't need to go back anymore because you got fucking Zero Mission.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, exactly. Let's talk about Zero Mission. That's a remake. We're jumping a bit through the timeline here. Just talk about because we had some remakes of games that came out later. So Zero Mission is the remake of the first one. It's basically like it goes through the same levels like the first one, but then adds a bit more to it at the end, if I remember correctly, There's like a special part at the end that makes it a bit more cinematic and adds a bit more story to it and everything. So yeah, so it's a pretty cool remake. Some people didn't like the cartoonier look that it established. I think
What?
if you compare it to Super Metroid, it looks a lot more I don't know, a lot more colorful, a lot more poppy. Fusion has the same thing too, but I think Zero Mission even more so.
No, I think Zero Mission has less, definitely, than Fusion. Fusion is the.
It has a different color palette, but they have both like these very bright colors. And Super Metroid was much more muted, like looked darker and more grim. And yeah, and I don't know, Fusion and Zero Mission both look a lot more, I don't know, bright, colorful, poppy. And for some people that infringed a bit with the atmosphere the rest of the game was trying to establish, I guess. I didn't have that problem with it. I liked Zero Mission quite a lot, and I definitely would prefer playing through that again before playing to the original NES game right now. So.
Yeah, I think Zero Mission for me is I don't know. It's so difficult to decide what is your favorite 2D Metroid game, but. Definitely Zero Mission's in with a shout. I think the controls were absolutely perfect. As good as Super Metroid was, and we'll talk about that later, its controls were refined in Zero Mission, like the ease of switching weapons and stuff. There was just that little bit of clunkiness, like shaved off. From Super Metroid, the way that the jumps work. So sometimes in Super Metroid, when you're trying to jump a certain way, it's fucking agonizing trying to get Samus to jump in the right way. But in Zero Mission, there wasn't that, and there were other things like being able to hold on to the ledges and stuff. Just small little pieces of refinement that just mechanically, from a mechanical standpoint, I think it made it the ultimate 2D Metroid within like the way it actually played. And I think it had a pitch-perfect difficulty level, beautiful graphics, a kick-ass soundtrack, just the right amount of direction without much hand-holding, because Fusion had a bit too much hand-holding.
Yeah, Fusion was a lot more like mission-based, because Adam's, I don't know, version, AI incarnation or something, was just sending you on missions and was like, hey, go here now, Samus, and now go here, and yeah. And we would see a worse version of that in other emulators. So Fusion was the start of that. Yes.
Yeah, I can totally understand that, but I think Zero Mission managed to capture just that perfect balance. Like the original Metroid, from what I've played and from what I've heard, is a bit too formless, and like you say, it's a bit too confusing, like where to go. I mean, it's one of those games that probably sends you hunting for Nintendo Power issues.
Yeah, and of course, it doesn't look as good now. It's very bare bones. It's very early NES, and most of the backgrounds are black. And
a deal breaker for me: you can't fucking shoot diagonally in the original Metroid. It drives me crazy.
Oh, all right. I think you can't.
Yeah.
Pretty sure
you can. Yeah, you can. No, I know you can. I tried to play that shit.
Yeah, it's in general it's a very hard game. So I mean that's why I didn't finish it, normally. But yeah, definitely Zero Mission is a good remake of that. Improves on the original version in every way possible. So if you want to experience like the original Metroid in a good way, I'd recommend play Zero Mission on an emulator or on a GBA if you own one. I don't know if it's available elsewhere. Did they release it for Virtual Console or something?
I haven't. Not being a massive Wii or Wii U fan, I have no idea about it.
Yeah, maybe on the 3DS or something. I don't know. I'd have to check for that. But yeah, there are probably ways to play this game now.
Yeah. Like as I said before, I think possibly it could probably be the best 2D Metroid game, Zero Mission, but I don't know. I mean,
you probably have to play Zero Mission and Super Metroid back to back, right?
and Fusion too.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all of the 2D Metroid games, without question, are excellent. Apart from the original Metroid, like we just discussed, which was great in its time, a trend-setting game, and video games would look very different without it, but it's fucking, I'm not joking, it's unplayable now. God damn it. So let's talk about kind of what I guess is the one of the oldest and ironically one of the most recent Metroids.
Yeah,
Also, let's
funny
talk about
that.
Metroid 2.
Yeah, the weird outlier. I don't know. I never even for 1 second played that game because I didn't own an original Game Boy. I only like borrowed one from friends when I went on vacation or something, or when I was in a hospital. And that, yeah, I never played Metroid 2. And when I went back and okay, let's play some older Metroid games again. When I went on a binge for like Super Metroid and Zero Mission and and I was like, okay, how about Metroid 2? And I'm like, no, that's not really that good a Metroid game. Like, there are some interesting ideas in there, so I've heard. And I was like, but yeah, everything else about it sounded weird. Like, they made Samus sprite too big to give her a bit more detail than in the NES version. But then again, the Game Boy screen is too small to make that work, and that game felt like very, very constricted and very, I don't know, not as large as Metroid should feel. Like, you should feel like you're thrown into this big open world, and apparently Metroid 2 felt too, yeah, I don't know, too constricted, too like bars on every side in a way. And Mega Man, the Mega Man games for the Game Boy, in my opinion, had the same problem, like where the sprite was too big and the screen itself was too small. And yeah, I couldn't get used to that very much after playing the NES games. And yeah, probably the same would have been the same case for me for Metroid 2. So I never touched it. Yeah. So how about you? Did you play the original Metroid? No, you didn't start with it, but did you go back and play it after you played Super Metroid?
Well, actually, I think maybe Metroid 2 might have been the first Metroid I played. In fact, I think it was. In fact, I think I was going through my friend's Game Boy collection. They had like Metroid 2: Return to Samus, and I stuck it in and I played it for like, 3 minutes. I was like, fuck that, that's shit. So, and then I forgot about it. So,
how the tone can change.
Yes, but hey, but the thing is, we're going after playing the original Metroid, after getting into the Metroid franchise and not enjoying that as an experience, I decided just to best leave Metroid 2 alone. So I don't want to spend my time going back through the old Game Boy version of Metroid 2 when I could play Zero Mission again or something.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have interest to do that, except now I potentially do, because AM2R is available. I say available, but
yeah, I get
not
to
if
that.
you ask Nintendo, it's not. But yeah. So anyway, the remake of the unofficial, unlicensed, unsanctioned remake of Metroid 2 is out there. If you
it's called another Metroid Remake 2. Another Metroid 2 remake. That's what it's called, right? Yeah. It was developed. Ah, shit! I had the name. Fuck. Wait, let me look this up because I want to name the
Tintin. I think Tintin said it best. Some bitch, some dude. Who cares? That's not the quote, actually. I forgot what the fucking actual quote is from The Crow, but
okay.
Some bitch, some dude.
I don't. It was developed by. I don't remember. I don't know how to spell his name correctly. It's Milton Gasty or Grasty or something like that. And yeah, he basically made a color remake for on PC with Game Maker or some version of that. For Metroid 2, or he started out with that, and then he got more people pulled in from the community. When he got a bit of when he couldn't do as much on the game as he wanted to and everything, and everyone gave a bit of input, and it turned into like this 10-year long project that recently got finished right on the 30th anniversary of Metroid. And apparently it's pretty good. So I've heard a lot of people played it apparently and enjoyed it. Did you try it out yet?
I have tried it out, but I haven't got very far into it. But
okay.
I did try it. I have put, I don't know, like 30-40 minutes into it or something, maybe even an hour, I think. But it's feels exactly like Zero Mission. I mean, it's
Yeah,
not
that was
wanting.
he
It's not wanting in the quality department,
he
certainly.
started like after Zero Mission. His plan like was to make a remake of Metroid 2. Like so he got his main inspiration from Zero Mission. So it's no wonder that it looks like that. Basically used, I guess, most of the sprite work from that and everything, and then they later improved on that, like in the graphics department, backgrounds and everything, and actual coding, original art assets and everything when the community got involved. So yeah.
Well, and I think on a quality level, it's like Nintendo made it.
Yeah.
Almost. It feels exactly the same as Zero Mission. The mechanics are tight. You don't feel like you're playing like a knockoff version of Metroid. I mean, it's Metroid.
Yeah.
It's like an official game. It's excellent.
Yeah, he put
As
a lot
far
of
as I can
effort
tell.
into it. Apparently, he was like really like during the development process, he was really intent of getting like the feeling exactly right. Like he putting Zero Mission on one of his screens, and his remake on the other, and like how is Samus moving in this one? How is Samus moving this one? How long do I have to press the button? For how long does the jump has to last, and stuff like that? Like getting the mechanics exactly right. He put a lot of effort and heart into that, and apparently, it shows.
Yeah.
All the more.
I think he nailed it. As far as I can tell. I mean, I haven't got far into the game. But I think the only God bless him for doing it, and I'm at some point I'm really gonna sit down and I'm gonna properly give that game my attention and get through it. But I think it kind of also suffers a little bit from the same failings as the original Metroid 2, which can't be helped because it's a fucking remake of the game.
Yeah.
Which is the whole game revolves around hunting for the Metroid spawn, which I mean they might change a little bit later, but in their first, I think I killed like 3 of them or something, but they're quite boring enemies, and they just like flit across the screen or something, and you got to get under them and hit them with your missile.
Yeah, I think they changed later. I think they're like evolved versions of.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
That's good. So I'm looking forward to seeing those. But yeah, the spider ball is fun. Like you get the spider ball almost immediately as one of the power-ups, and
that was super fun. Funny. I did not know that the spider ball was created for Metroid 2. I played Metroid Prime, the Metroid Prime game that featured a spider ball first. I was like, oh, that's a cool new feature. And then I was like, oh, okay, that wasn't a series before. I didn't know that.
Yeah. The spider ball, when you open up the spider ball, because it's like basically the first power up you get. It's like the morph ball in Super Metroid or something. It's like it's right there as soon as you go through the gate. Yeah, that's a lot of fun because like I spent a long time like just scaling walls to see what was up there. That Metroid thing that you do. When you see a square that's not been filled in on the map, and it's like, yeah, I'm getting up there with the spider ball.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun, and I can definitely see how that's going to add a lot to that particular title that I haven't really experienced in Metroid before. I mean, sure, it's in some of the Metroid Prime games, but the spider ball in the Metroid Prime games is much more limited in scope because you can only go up certain tracks and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas in Metroid Prime 2, you can literally you can just climb any wall.
Okay.
So
that's interesting. Cool. I didn't know that either. So
yeah. Just any wall you can cling onto, any wall. Even if like sometimes you can't reach it, you use the that bomb jump trick. You get up there and cling onto it.
Nice.
So yeah, there's a lot of scope for exploration.
Yeah, I definitely want to play that game. It's on my backlog list. I think I'm gonna play that after I play through Bayonetta, which I finally bought Bayonetta 2 for the Wii U, which I wanted to do for ages. But yeah. I definitely want to play that game because, of course, I love the 2D Metroid games, and I think it's all the more disappointing that again Nintendo decided like, oh well, someone is messing with our IP, let's take that shit down immediately. And I don't understand that approach. I mean, I can understand why you want to protect your IP, like in general, because of course you never know what you can't control it. If you let it happen once, like yeah, we're okay with that, you open yourself up to all kinds of legal shit in that regard. So I can understand why they do that. But, why not after taking it down, going to the developer saying, hey, you did some cool shit here with our license. either, I don't know,
Yeah.
we give you some, give us the code, and our internal team is gonna port this shit over to Virtual Console or to 3DS, or I don't know, we're gonna put our name on it, publish on the fucking PC, for fuck's sake. Now Nintendo is like putting their games on iPhones, so I mean, all you know, all is possible apparently. So
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know why they keep why would they keep doing that? Like, why keep shutting down those promising projects that people put like 10 years of their life into, and poured their heart and soul into, and which is arguably better than most of the Metroid stuff that Nintendo has published in recent years, if at all. And then just, shutting it down and letting it die. I mean, it's not dying per se because it's out there. It's there are torrents and everything, and people can still play it. But why would you miss that chance to, publish this as your own game? That would be good for you too. Imagine if Nintendo came out like, hey, we got this. This is not made by us, but we think this is a really cool game, and I think it lives up to the Metroid heritage and idea and everything. And we're gonna publish this game like under our name. Everyone would fucking suck their dick for it. They would like, oh man, Nintendo, that's so cool. You're so awesome for doing that.
Yeah.
Holy shit. They would get money off of it. They would get prestige out of it. The fans would fucking adore them for it. I have no idea. It feels like this is a dumb decision by fucking 70-year-old Japanese people in suits or something.
I couldn't agree with you more. Simply, if Nintendo, that's what I would have done if it was in Nintendo and they, some fan had made this Metroid 2 remake like as good as it was, and you're just like, wow, it's like basically indistinguishable from the fucking the main games. And so much effort and love has obviously gone into that. I would have picked up that game and I would have shut it down on torrent sites and say, you know what, we're gonna take this, we're gonna release it on the Wii U or something, because everybody's clamoring for a decent 2D Metroid game. Nintendo have one fucking ready made.
Yeah. They get their work done for. I mean,
exactly.
They probably would have put some work hours into actually porting it, of course, because that's written for a different code than whatever the 3DS or I don't know the Wii U is using. Obviously, still, but it would. I assume it would be possible. And if it's not possible, like I said, fucking I don't know, release it as a game on Steam or wherever a PC platform you can. And profit from it anyway. There is a way. There's got to be a way to make this game like an official Nintendo game, or a licensed out Nintendo game.
To put it basically to show you a company that did do that and did it awesomely. Sega did it.
Right.
Sonic is great. So
yeah.
Christian, I think his name is Christian Whitehead. He basically emulated Sonic CD. Basically, and he emulated Sonic CD for the PC or whatever. Sega shut that down, but took a look at his work and was like, dude, that guy's right on the money.
Yeah.
And basically hired him to do the official port for PlayStation 3.
And now Sonic Mania, if I'm not mistaken.
He did such a good job with that. They just unleashed him on an original Sonic game now. It's just like, okay, go for it, do your worst. Like that's good thinking.
Yeah.
Right there.
And that's coming from fucking Sega.
Yeah.
So I mean, Nintendo should get the fucking message. I don't know. It's just it's beyond me. I don't understand this way of thinking at all. It feels so like old, and I don't know, and dumb and conservative and stuck in the Stone Age in terms of everything, and like Japanese IP hysteria. Like, we gotta protect it at all costs. Shut everything down. Kill it with fire. Like, no, you're hurting yourself. Don't you understand? Yeah. Don't you fucking understand, you idiots?
For God's sake, take like the fucking 3 or 4 hours it will take to port that to Nintendo consoles. Send some bucks that Brazilian guy's way and let everybody be happy. Goddammit.
Yeah.
But hey, we are fast running out of time, so let's move on
to the big one.
To one of the big ones. Yeah. My cock is not up for discussion here. But hey, let's talk about Super Metroid. So I'm gonna lead in with this one because this was my entry point into the world of Metroid. I think like. How can I say? Up until that point, I had been into like fighting games mostly, but I think I had like a tenner or something. That's £10 for people who don't come from England, and I I went to the game store, and if I remember rightly, Super Metroid came in this huge ass box, this like, massive box, like because it had this guide with it. So the box was actually the size of a magazine. So I remember like seeing that artwork and seeing that box, and I was like, wow, shit, that is a big ass box. Like, and looking at the back and thinking, yeah, I'll go for that. So yeah, and then mind blown, fucking wow, what a great game Super Metroid was. Jeez,
Yeah.
probably the first great open world like game I had come across at that time. It was brilliant. Like, what can you say about Super Metroid? Fantastic bosses, iconic music,
Yeah.
all the great power-ups. It's slightly clunky in its mechanical department, especially switching the weapons. Man, if you pressing that select button, if you accidentally miss in the middle of a boss fight, if you miss the weapon you're aiming for, help! Jesus. Yeah, so many great moments in that game. I do believe that it has been slightly bettered, in my opinion, by, for example, by Zero Mission, because I think those refinements now in this modern era, like, make quite a big difference. And but within the scope of the history of Metroid and stuff, I think Super Metroid is untouchable. It's that defining fucking game that just changed everything, blew everybody's mind. It showed us what the Super Famicom could do. You know, like it's absolutely brilliant, and I love the fact that it's got so many aliens references in there, and like that whole kind of like atmosphere, that whole thing in the beginning where you arrive and everybody's dead, and there's that slow build up to, you know, like when the shit hits the fan, all the alarms go off and stuff, and then it's action time. Brilliant.
Even the opening, like before you actually start the game, is something that we didn't have before.
Yeah.
That like it's so cinematic, it's so incredibly dark. The music in the background is very like I don't know, very it's oozing atmosphere. It's like very foreboding, and then you got fucking voice acting. The last Metroid is in captivity, if I'm not mistaken, was the sentence or something like that. So it's like this very weird voice coming out of the speaker, like, wow, what the fuck is this? Like, this is crazy. And yeah, so it's just this very, very awesome opening, and then you hear that single cry from the baby Metroid, and yeah, it's the logo, and yeah, it's just a great. There's just a great vision that was realized for that game, like everything.
Also, it has one of the most I think I highlighted this in the soundtrack episode we did a while back, but it has one of the most kick-ass like pieces of music. That moment where you hit the start button and you choose your file, and it heads into that cutscene where it's explaining the story of Metroid, and you've got that awesome music. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah,
it's
great.
I can't tell you when I was a kid. I can't tell you how many times I switched off, like the power off on my SNES to hear that like tune again. Like, wow, it's amazing. Such a great moment. Yeah, not much bad to say. I can tell you though that the Ridley boss fight in Super Metroid broke my balls. Like,
it's hard,
man,
yes.
Yeah, I'm not joking, right? Like, that became my nemesis for a long time.
Samus nemesis too, so
yeah,
it works.
But it became my video game nemesis. I'm telling you, it took me 8 years to beat that boss.
Wow, Jesus.
Yeah, so when I was younger, like I just could not beat Ridley.
Okay.
Like, I just could not fucking do that. And after a while, I just because it's really annoying. That boss fight is in the most annoying location possible. So I don't know if you remember, but basically you get out of the save point, and then you have to go down this kind of like tunnel with lots of enemies in there. Then you have to go through Ridley's gold Chozu statue guards. That they're completely invulnerable until they do their flying kick.
Oh, right.
You have to hit them with missiles when they do that kick. That's the only time you can damage them. Those fuckers are hard to begin with. I mean, they're a handful. And then you get into Ridley, and it's unlikely you're going to be at perfect health. You might be if you're a fucking ninja, but like
speedrunner.
Yeah, and then you get in there. I mean, I'm no speedrunner, but like, and then that's a tough fucking boss fight, man. That's a tough fucking boss fight. So when I was younger, I just could not do it. I just could not beat Ridley, and it got too stressful for me, and like I stopped. But then occasionally every year I would switch on my Super Famicom and I would have another crack at it. You know, like once or twice a year or something, I would have another crack at beating Ridley, and it became this thing. Like once or twice every year, I'd be like, "Yep, right, time to power up Super Metroid, see if I can beat Ridley." Nope, can't do it. like, and then one year I switched it on, and went through it, and I think, and then, but I did it, and it was like it was one of those most like defining gaming moments for me. I beat Ridley, and suddenly I was like. I couldn't quite believe what I had just done, and I was like, I remember my brother came into the room and was like, "Don't you move! Don't move! Don't you go anywhere near that plug, man! Nobody go anywhere near the power button!" Like this feeling, like nobody breathe. Like it's hilarious. Literally, when I did it, like I think every hair on my body stood on end when I beat Ridley on Super Metroid. It's like I'm short of breath here. So yeah, and like I was praying, I was begging because I was on such low life. I was like, please, please, let there be a save point, please. No, don't you kill me, don't you do it, you fucking random enemy. It's like the most intense 3 minutes of gameplay ever trying to get to a save point after being Ridley. It's
But you made it through in the end and were able to finish the game. Finally.
Yeah, well, every other boss was pissed compared to Ridley, like in that game.
So the final boss fight against Mother Brain was again pretty very epic. If you
it was
considering
awesome,
what came came before it in terms of games and final battles. So that was pretty cinematic, pretty cool. Like story without having any text was pretty amazing.
I don't mean like piss as in every other boss was bad. I mean,
easy.
Metroid has some of the best bosses ever, and the Mother Brain is no exception. Amazing boss. I specifically love the way that you think you've killed Mother Brain, and then she comes back for a second form.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. I love that boss fight as a cinematic and as a boss fight in general, but it was it wasn't anywhere near as difficult as Ridley. Because I think I did. Yeah. I beat Mother Brain first time through, and it took me 8 years to beat fucking Ridley.
Ridley has proven to have more staying power than Mother Brain because he has been featured in more Metroid games than she was.
I don't think Mother Brain was in the first one, and Super Metroid. Was she in any of the others?
I think a version of her was in Metroid Prime 3, or like what is supposed to be her predecessor. That thing at the end, I don't know if it was called Mother Brain, but it was called something similar, and you could guess, oh, that's what turns into Mother Brain. That's going to become her, or that's her, whatever she will is later on.
I always thought the second form of Metroid Prime looked suspiciously like Mother Brain. So it's basically like a floating brain or something is what it looked like.
A bit, yeah. But then it turns into...
It's not Mother Brain, though.
It's Dark Samus, so...
Yeah.
But yeah.
What can you say about Super Metroid? Amazing.
Great game. Yes. Great. Indeed.
Yeah. Great. Not so great. There's not much more you can really say about it. So let's move on to Metroid 4. That was Metroid 3. Let's move on to Metroid 4, which Metroid Fusion.
Yep.
Yeah. The last 2D Metroid game on our list here. So yeah, what did you think about Metroid Fusion?
I only played a bit of it actually. I never finished it. I played like the first hour or something, and I don't know what kept me from enjoying it as much as Super and Zero Mission, but something I don't know, something just kept me from wanting to go back. Maybe it was like the more mission based style of the game, not being as open and everything, but maybe it was something else. I don't know. I like the being hunted by something that is like stronger than you and is out to get you. As like the idea of that, like added like a nice, I don't know, threat level to to the whole game, and like, oh my god, what is this? What is the thing? What is this trying to do to me and whatever? And I like that. And just the whole story idea of Samus getting like infected with Metroid DNA, and I think in that way it corresponds with Alien 4 as well. Like I think that's what happened to Ripley in that when she was cloned, like her DNA mixed with the baby alien DNA she was pregnant with. So I guess they were like drawing their inspiration from that as well.
Well, but one of those things was very good, and one of those things was very bad.
Yeah. But yeah, I never finished it. I might go back one day to play it. I'm still kind of interested in it, but right now I would be more interested to play the Metroid 2 remake, just for novelty's sake, and maybe one day I'll go back to play Fusion on an emulator or something.
I love Fusion. So it took a bit more. Like you, I was a bit bothered by the kind of the plotline elements of it, but I think basically, ultimately, the plotline isn't too bad. So you have a bit of plotline, and Adam says, "Go to this area and do this." And there's kind of like a waypoint, but how to get to the waypoint, I mean, it still leads to exploration. Also, at a certain point, the game sort of opens up, and then you can just bugger off back to wherever you can take the power-ups that you've accrued, go back and do the usual Metroid exploring. So that game does open up little by little. And I think towards the end, it's definitely much more open than it was at the beginning.
Yeah.
And there's a lot less hand-holding. So I think that's a game that kind of rocks and rolls as it goes on. As you get deeper into the game, it opens up more. So in the end, I had no real problems with it. There's this massive fucking difficulty spike that, just like the Ridley boss fight in Super Metroid, that gave me grief. which was the scene where Dark Samus, or I don't know, X Samus or whatever the fuck she's called, is chasing you.
X or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can only freeze her for like a second. That's the only damage you can do. You can't beat her. And you have to basically run this obstacle course while running away from Samus, which is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. How can a 2D sprite-based game be terrifying? Play that sequence. You'll know the terror.
They did this most amazing moment where they in that one sequence where they zoom in on her visor, and it's just like a copy of Samus' face without any, with wide eyes, and it's like, ah.
Yeah, that's scary. But what's scary about the scene is it's so intense.
Yeah.
Like sweaty palm style, because in that scene you need to be you need to be like a speedrunner. You need to be absolutely perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely perfect. You make one single mistake, you press the button like a millisecond too late, that's it. It's over for you. She's got you. It really, I mean, it took me so many tries to beat that. It's not a boss, but to beat that sequence. I mean, it's intense. It's really fucking. It's a great piece of gameplay, actually. I mean, like, it's frustrating as fuck, and you want to like murder your Game Boy Advance or your emulator. But when you do it, it's like, yeah, fuck you, I did it. Yeah, I can finally continue on with this fucking game. But yeah, it's got one thing that you one disservice you did for yourself by not playing that game is the biggest surprise, the biggest pop for me in Metroid Other M was the return of Nightmare, which was the most difficult boss in Fusion, the famous boss from Fusion that everybody has difficulties with. It's a fucking excellent boss. The best boss in Metroid Fusion is a fucking amazing boss, and it turns up in Metroid Other M, and I almost shit my pants when that boss came, and I was like, oh my god, this is so awesome!
Is he as difficult in Other M?
No, he's piss easy in Other M. It's still
because I don't remember having any problems with him in Other M, but a friend of mine who played Fusion told me that he was like first in that game. So
yeah, and but because you've played Fusion, and like, it's so awesome when he turns up. It's like it's like when you're at a concert and suddenly the band plays your favorite song. It's like, oh my god, this is awesome! Like I had that moment in Other M when that happened.
Okay.
But yeah, not much to say about Fusion. I highly recommend going back to it. Yeah, I think it's definitely worthwhile seeing the end. It's got like so many memorable bosses, and it opens up a lot more. Yeah, it's a great game.
All right.
All right. So shall we move into Metroid Prime?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is now apparently not canon anymore. It's its own separate Metroid universe thing, apparently.
How does that work?
Yeah, well, it's alternate universe or something. It's not recognized as canon anymore.
Well, who gives a shit? The Metroid plot lines are very, tenuous at the best of times. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, I don't know. I always liked it was. I think it was set after Super Metroid, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, was it set after No, it was set before Super Metroid.
I didn't even know Nintendo cared about Metroid enough
It
to
was,
make it
I think
non-canon. Jesus.
I think in the original Metroid Prime was set between Metroid 2 and Super Metroid. Yeah, I think that's how it worked. And now that's like, no, well, you can see it like that, but Nintendo doesn't, recognize that as true, or the creator of Metroid or whatever.
Well, that complete idiocy piece of nonsense aside, let's talk about the actual game. Metroid Prime Human Metal.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that game? Yeah.
Well, yeah. First, when I heard about it, I was like, Metroid in 3D. How does that work? Like, and on console to boot. Like, this is only having played first-person shooters on PC and like I played a few here and there, like GoldenEye and Turok on console. And I was like, yeah, okay. Still, I'm not that fond of the controls, and I'm like, okay, I don't know. And then Metroid was like, okay, this is the exploration and everything. How's that gonna work? This is probably gonna play like shit. And the
morph ball too.
Yeah, exactly.
How's that gonna work? How did they do that?
How's everything supposed to work? And we've all of us found out when we played the game, it worked pretty flawlessly. It was an eye-opening experience. Like, hey, this shit can work. You can play a giant sprawling action adventure in first-person perspective on a console with a controller that was not necessarily made for that. But yeah, since the game featured a lock-on feature, it made the battles work pretty great, and the platforming worked great too. Like, it felt very responsive and very like intuitive, in my opinion. I enjoyed Metroid Prime immensely. It was one of my favorite games on the GameCube, and that final boss fight against Prime was hard as fuck.
Yes.
But I enjoyed it, and I haven't played it in ages. I don't know if I actually purchased the Prime trilogy for Wii U. If not, I'm gonna do that. And because I want to go back and play those games. But yeah, the first one was really good and probably still is. Great game. Great unexpected conversion of the Metroid franchise into 3D. I guess nobody would have expected that to work that well.
Yeah, you got to hand it to Nintendo. At first, it's like it's like Mario 64. It's like how are they going to put Mario in? How's that going to work?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, that works. And then it's like Zelda. It's like no, they can't do that. No, it's going to be rubbish. Oh, wow, that works too. And then Metroid is like, no, that's not going to work. Oh, yep, it does.
Yeah.
So
just have to get the right people with the right vision.
Yes.
And Retro did the trick.
I can't tell you how much I love Metroid Prime. Like, truly, as much as I love the 2D games, and I love them, Metroid Prime is my favorite Metroid game. It's fucking brilliant. If I had to compile a list of my top 10 games of all time, without question, Metroid Prime would be one of them. I love it. It's the way that game sucked me in, the atmosphere, like, just as atmospheric as the 2D games are. Like, when you're in 3D, that isolation, it just takes hold of you. That feeling of being in an alien planet completely by yourself. It's just fantastic. It had just the right amount of exploration, of hand-holding, of pointing you kind of in the right direction, but also just leaving stuff like free as well. It had so many wonderful secrets. Just like memorable moment after memorable moment, fantastic boss fights. I'll never forget the Ridley boss fight, where Ridley smashes up all the totems. Yeah. When you're about to go into the final boss area, and then Ridley comes to fight you, Meta Ridley. It's such an amazing boss fight, and hard as fuck. Not nearly as hard as the Metroid Prime boss fight. That was a beast.
Yeah.
And that's, I think I've told the story a couple times, so I'll go just do the quick version. But it forced me to 100% the game, because I needed all the missile power-ups and everything to fight Metroid Prime, because I couldn't do it otherwise. And yeah, it's one of the only, I think it is at the moment the only Metroid game I've ever 100%ed, because I had to beat the end boss. And I remember the first time I beat Metroid Prime, I was like, oh my god, yes! And I didn't know she had a fucking second form, and the second form beasted my ass. Like, and killed me, and I had to go through it all again. So, but it's amazing. And I love the way that they like it's a different planet, but you have the recognizable areas in there, like Norfair. When you get into Norfair and you hear that classic Metroid music from Metroid Prime, it's just like, it's so awesome. And just the little details, like when you go down, when you come down from the other areas into the like Norfair, you get those kind of like the condensation on Samus's visor and stuff. Like little things like that, or
scenery reflection sometimes on the inside of the visor was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was awesome too. And the new areas in Metroid Prime, like Fandrana Drifts, like amazing music in Fandrana Drifts, and I never forget like those, that kind of snowy atmosphere, and like having to do the double jump over those those like polar bear turtle things that you can only shoot in the back. Like, good times, man. Loved it. Loved Metroid Prime. Truly one of the best games of all time. So I just talk a little bit about the sequels to Metroid Prime, yeah. Lesser Returns, I think. Lesser Returns. The second one was... the second Metroid Prime was pretty good.
Metroid Prime 2 Echoes.
Yes, that was a pretty damn good game, and had some of Zelda's Light and Dark World going on, except a more extreme version.
Yeah, exactly.
We get fucked up in the Dark World.
Yeah, that was probably the one thing that pissed me off a bit, because that made
I like that.
I don't know, that made like the that put the pressure on in certain parts where I didn't want it. Really? I guess it's like, okay, I'm busy with the platforming right now. I don't want to look at my fucking health bar.
I disagree. I mean, no, I don't disagree. I mean, it did definitely put the pressure on, but I thought that was a great mechanic, because for me, the Dark World was terrifying. I'd never wanted to go in that fucking place.
Me neither.
Which is exactly as it should be. And every time you came across one of those light bubbles, it's like, oh Jesus Christ, thank you.
But once you get the light armor, it doesn't matter anymore, because you don't take any damage anymore. But up to that point, just with the dark armor, it was like, and with your normal anyway, like, holy shit.
Yeah,
I'm gonna die again.
I thought I quite liked that. I quite liked the intensity of the Dark World. However, the intensity of that game was in the end ultimately just a little bit too much for me. Like, that's why I couldn't finish it, because man, that game was ball-breakingly difficult. Like, I remember, I think the final boss I did was that fish fight. The fish thing that then turns into this like flying bumblebee, this flying like dragonfly type thing. Do you remember that thing? And you have to shoot out its wings. Like, it took me like 90 minutes to beat that fucker. And like, it was a really long, intense boss fight, and I failed at it several times. And then when I finally beat it, and it's a long fight. I mean, I don't think it was literally 90 minutes, but it was literally like 40 minutes to defeat that boss. Like, in the time I actually defeated it. Yeah. The amount of total time I spent fighting that boss was probably off the scale, but like, so it was just after I beat that boss, I never came to a point in that game where it was too hard for me, but it was just like, I was so tired after that boss. Like, frankly, I didn't want to know what boss was around the next corner. It was just a little bit too frightening for me. A little bit like too bothersome. Like, I need to get my energy back. I just need to stop playing this game. So was.
Yeah, it's weird. For like, I didn't like the game that much in the beginning, but it picked up for me later on. Not the biggest fan of the story of 2, where it's like, okay, it's these dark shadow creatures that have taken over the planet, and the Ing they were called, and then the final boss was not as super surprising and everything, or one of the final bosses. But the whole part with Dark Samus was pretty cool, which was basically, Metroid Prime absorbing Samus armor or something, or imitating her. So a version of X from Fusion. But yeah, that was pretty good. And I really liked the finale of Prime 2, where you had an escape part in the beginning of Metroid Prime, where you escape from that space station. But the escape part of Metroid Prime 2 was at the very end. And I don't know if I should spoil that for you. I don't know
It
if you're
doesn't
going
matter, I
to.
think.
Yeah, but at the very end, after you beat the Ing Emperor, which is the supposedly final boss of the game, you have like this escape, part, like get out of here, the planet is going to explode or whatever, and
It's
go
a
back
Metroid
to your ship.
staple.
Yeah. But at the end of that fucking escape thing, Dark Samus awaits, and you have to battle her for one final battle under a time limit. And
Oh my God.
let me tell you, that shit was intense, and was a really, really cool fight. I remember enjoying that very much just because of the atmosphere and everything, and it was very pulse pounding, and yeah. I enjoyed that kind of pressure. Was pretty awesome. Just, I don't know, just because it was just I can concentrate just on the fight and didn't have to watch for anything else, and just evading her attacks, and it was pretty damn awesome. Yeah, I enjoyed the finale of that game quite a lot. Not so much, the beginning and the rest of the story, but aside from that, that part was pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and I'll have to go back and retry that, because I know for a fact that I beat what I consider to be the most difficult bosses in the game. The fucking the what's it called, the I don't know, the boss fights you have to fight whilst in the morph ball, I think are generally considered to be like the worst and the most horrific boss fights in that game, and I think I passed both of those, because there are two of them that are quite difficult. But I don't know, at some point I just kind of stopped and fell off the radar with that game, but I'd like to go back and finish that.
I can give you a tip for the not final boss, for the Ing Emperor. You get the screw attack in that game, if you remember that from Super Metroid. We can do like multiple jumps and hurt the enemies. And you can attack the Ing Emperor in two different ways. Like normally shoot his weak points, but I think if I remember correctly, he also has like this weak point under his belly, and you can hit that if you just time your screw attack correctly and manage to like hit him from underneath with your screw attack. I think that's how it worked, and that's how I finished him, and was like super satisfying because it took off this like huge chunk of health of him and at the end. And yeah, it was just getting just that platforming with right and doing more damage to the boss. That was a neat idea. And I enjoyed it quite a lot. So try that out if you have any problems with them. Maybe that will be like the thing that saves your butt, your bacon.
Yeah, all right. I will keep that in mind. So let's quickly talk about Metroid Prime 3.
Mm-hmm.
So we are severely running
Corruption.
out of time. Corruption. We're running out of time here, so we got to kind of quick fire for this. But Metroid Prime 3, for me, I didn't like it. I thought it had some really fucking cool elements. I thought the going between planets in Samus's spaceship was fucking awesome. That was great.
Yeah,
that was really cool.
Just a whole story setup of conversing with the hunters, even though Samus herself wasn't talking, but like the story with the bring a bit more substance to the whole space marine thing and everything, like extending the world. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, but I think more importantly than the story or something, what I didn't really like about Metroid Prime 3 was a couple of things. Firstly, that game started to have the I've seen this, I've done this vibe.
Okay.
Like that kind of like, it wasn't markedly different from the first two games. Perhaps neither should it be. So it's just but it just felt like another Metroid Prime game, like without anything that really kind of was distinguishing it. Also, I feel like the bosses were a bit lackluster in that game, because they all did that saying like jumping, like the wave attack. They hit the ground, the pulse wave attack. Like, and you'd have to do the same thing. You'd always have to do the same thing. You'd have to like jump over their wave attack. Watch out for that. Watch out for them dashing across the screen at you. Yeah. Basically, the bosses in that became very kind of samey and indistinct, and all of them had a kind of like human-esque appearance. So like I don't know, I just think the bosses were a bit lackluster, and the bosses are...
I think there was like one cool boss fight, but I think it was against one of the hunters that was pretty cool. But aside from that, you're right, like I don't remember the bosses to be that cool. And especially like the final boss fights against whatever that Mother Brain thing was, and the final fight against Dark Samus were like vastly inferior to the finale of Metroid Prime and Metroid Prime Echoes, in my opinion. But the beginning I liked more than Metroid Prime 2. I liked the whole setup of, the story. Oh, this is the status quo right now, and you have to go out and search that or that thing and work together with the hunters. I like the whole setup of that. I just feel like they didn't do enough with that, or didn't bring it all together in the end. It's just like the finale of that game was kind of lackluster to me, and I liked it. I liked it, especially I didn't expect to like the motion controls of that of the game that much. I think they realized those very well. I was worried about that, but I think it worked out quite well in my opinion. And yeah, I liked a lot of about that game. Just it's probably the reverse Metroid Prime 2 Echoes for me. Metroid Prime 2 Echoes I didn't like in the beginning and liked at the very end a lot. And Metroid Prime Corruption I liked in the beginning but didn't like so much at the end. Maybe that should have been one game with the good parts, assembled together. But yeah, still, it's not a bad game in my opinion.
No, I don't think it was a bad game, but I don't think it was a particularly special game either.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely when you play Metroid Prime, still, if you go back to it and play that first Metroid Prime immediately, you're on a whole different level from its sequels. I think so.
I'll go back and play those all three probably again in the collection.
Yeah,
sometime.
Me too. I have not finished Metroid Prime 2 and Metroid Prime 3, and it kind of hurts my soul.
Yeah, you should do that. As a Metroid fan, you should have at least finished those two at once, even if they are inferior to Prime. They're still good Metroid games. So.
I mean, I think maybe this winter I might take a bit of time out and have a crack at doing that, because I got the Metroid Prime trilogy.
Yeah.
On the Wii. So anyway, let's talk about probably the most controversial Metroid title, Other M, Human Metal.
Do we have to?
Yeah, well, we do. I know. You and I, we fundamentally disagree on this. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time to talk about it. But all right, I'll let you go first. Other M, Human Metal. What's your opinion on?
I was looking forward to that game actually quite a lot, because it's gonna have Sam is gonna have a voice. It's gonna be very story focused. It's gonna be pretty much a sequel to not to Fusion. I don't know where it was supposed to be set.
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, it sounded interesting, and the first story, the CG movies and trailers sound like, oh shit, it's like. You see that scene from the final fight in Super Metroid, and it's like, oh, remember that shit? And I'm like, yes, I remember. It's like, yeah, mother, let's go. And I was like, I'm all in, guys. And I heard this is going to be Team Ninja is co-developing it, so it's going to be action focused, and that might be interesting for the combat. And it was like, oh, as long as they get the exploration right and everything, it's going to be cool. And yeah, while I enjoyed the gameplay of the game more than I expected to be, it was Ninja Gaiden Light, but that's not a bad thing. Ninja Gaiden Black is a good game. So yeah, I enjoyed the gameplay of that game, even the exploration aspect. But I couldn't deal with the story. The Metroid, the voice actress for Samus was just so fucking monotone and putting no soul whatsoever in the very badly written monologues, in my opinion. I believe some of those were already in Metroid Fusion, where Sam is talking about how she feels about certain things, about Adam and everything. But it's one thing to read that shit. It's one thing to hear someone say it, and the voice actors just didn't deliver on that. And then there's the whole fucking thing where Sam is like, oh yeah, I can't use my fucking heat resistant armor until my superior allows me to. It's like, what is this shit? You have saved this universe 3,000 times over. You don't have to listen to fucking anyone. You're a hardest bounty hunter. Only in this game she isn't. And that was probably my main gripe with it. This was not the version of Samus that I envisioned her to be from the previous game. In Prime, in Super Metroid, you can say, okay, there wasn't much story or anything that could tell you what Samus is feeling. But in Metroid Prime, she got into the action, into the job. No fucking, no hesitation. She's that kick-ass bounty hunter. And in Other M, she's this frail little flower who has to ask her superior for everything, who, freezes at the sight of Ridley, who she has beaten at this point at least 2 times. And it's no, that is not Samus to me. that's not her. And I would have accepted this if this was a prequel. If this was like right after she got out of the academy, it's the first time she's the bounty hunter and everything. I would have accepted that, but not like this.
I don't know well, but I think this is early in Samus's career.
There are flashbacks, but this is already set after she has, at least after the first 3 games. This is set after Super Metroid, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you might be right about that.
That's my problem. If that was like supposed to be a prequel, if this was supposed to be the first Metroid game, okay, this is young Samus. She is inexperienced. She has no idea what she's doing. Her only guidance is Adam, and this is like the story where she becomes this hardened bounty hunter. Then I would have been like, okay, this is okay. But this is already supposed like the well-versed bounty hunter, like the hard ass that we have, come to know and love over the past few games. Who knows what to do? And, she wasn't that. She was a monologuing, frightened little frail flower, and not well-written character in this game.
Well, I enjoyed the story of Other M, so put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Well.
So, but I specifically thought that they did the character progression arc pretty well. I mean, at the beginning, like you say, she was it doesn't make sense, but yeah, she was a frightened little flower. But by the end of that game, she had surpassed that, and she wasn't anymore. She had grown into a confident warrior.
Yeah, the problem is she already should have been past that at the beginning of the game. That's the problem.
Well, yeah, yes, I would say that they made a mistake in where they're placing that game within the timeline. But frankly, would
have worked as a prequel. Like I said, I would have been fine with that.
I don't really care about that type of thing, like timelines. So I don't think it was like foremost in my mind. Oh my god, this is after Super Metroid. I mean, it is a bit weird. Like you can't use your missiles yet, Samus. It's like Samus is literally gonna die if she can't use them.
Exactly, or she's gonna fucking die in the fucking lava stage because she can't use her heat protected armor. That's dumb.
At least use your fucking brain, Samus. I mean, there is sort of an undertone a little bit about sexism.
Yeah.
That you could level at those scenes. Like, women, they can't think for themselves. They need a man.
Well, she didn't have much of a choice. Adam was locking her systems per remote. She couldn't do anything. Maybe if she had like the skills to override her suit systems. He's like, no, I'm not permitting you to do that. So what the fuck?
Yeah,
it was fucking dumb, man.
Well, it was a bit of a dumb plot device, but the actual general story I liked. I liked some of the mystery and intrigue about what was going on.
Yeah,
me
too.
The scene where Ridley attacked the Marines and killed a bunch of the guys that
I like the build up to that whole Ridley reveal because I didn't see it coming. It's like, wait, this creature like morphs into new form, and I was like, what is this about? And then, I saw that coming a mile away.
I saw that coming a mile away.
I didn't see it coming. It was like totally surprised. Oh shit, it's Ripley. And then Samus is like, oh god, Ridley, and it was like, you shouldn't react that way. I know he killed your parents and everything, apparently, but you have already killed him like 2 times. You should do that again now. Well, not getting saved by that weird black dude we have never met before, and yet he introduces himself to us with the sentence, "Hey, remember me?" And we're like, "No, I don't remember you. Who the fuck are you?"
I do remember him from earlier in the game.
Yeah.
like I say, I love that scene where like the Ridley murders that black guy. That's awesome. Like I was like, no, not that guy. I like that guy. So I had a different feeling. But that Ridley boss fight, oh fuck me, great. I love the Metroid. Sorry, I'm really running out of time, so I gotta hammer this now.
Yes.
But I really loved the gameplay of Metroid Other M. Specifically, I think the boss fights are some of the best in the Metroid franchise.
Very enjoyable. The
like
first-person stuff, maybe not so much, but the 3D traversal stuff was very well designed, in my opinion.
I hated the first-person parts of Metroid Other M. However, after a while, I got used to them and kind of.
You had to.
Yeah. I mean, you had to, but after you get used to them, I mean, I found them quite enjoyable. There was that one brutal boss fight. The most difficult boss fight in Other M is the Metroid Queen, because it revolves around accurately snapping in the first person mode, which is a fucking nightmare. Anything that asks for precision from a Wiimote in he's asking for trouble. But
it was a bit weird that they for some reason skipped on the nunchuck for that and only used the Wiimote. It's like if you would have been able to use the fucking stick and the 2 additional buttons on the nunchuck, that would have been probably enough to, make yourself move in 3D as well, and make it just a mix of 3D and 2D. But they didn't want to do that apparently. Weird.
Yeah, but I just enjoyed the shit out of that, and the more I played it, I just loved it, and I loved the fact that it had so many, like a whole menagerie of enemies. Like you never quite knew what you were going to come across around the next corner in Metroid Other M, and some of the, like you come across something that felt like a boss, but it actually would just be like a standard creature. Yeah,
and like I said, I enjoyed the fast-paced action gameplay because it's Ninja Gaiden style. I like those games, and I like these action. Not platformer action as spectacle fighters like Bayonetta and Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, and Other M was pretty much a light version of that. So
but as a Metroid purist from the beginning, I didn't click with it. I remember I went through a period. I was like, this game is shit. This doesn't feel like Metroid. It's not Metroid. But like I remember, in fact, I think I gave up on the game, but then like slapped myself hard in the face. I was like, nope, back to it. But I stuck with it, and I'm glad I did, because I had a whale of a time with that. The only thing that I would really say that irked me was the exploration constantly being shut off. It's like, hey, I'll go back through that door, back there. Like, no, I can't do that. Well, fuck you then. Yeah. Like, it did open up a bit towards the end, but it was really, at some points, it was really frustrating. Like, I've got this new power up. Yeah, I think I can use it there. I just nip back through that. Why is that door locked? Who locked this fucking door? Like, this was open a short time ago. Pushed me down that got me sometimes.
I also have to mention it's probably one of the best looking Wii games. Like, I think, or most round looking. Like it's I don't know. Some of that stuff looks for the Wii console and its system specs and everything looks really good, which I didn't expect. So Xenoblade Chronicles probably looks still better because it has like this giant scale. But I was pretty impressed with the graphics of Other M back then.
Yeah, I didn't have any complaints with that either. So I think of all the some of the classic Metroid games, they never die. But I think Other M at the moment is the game that I want to go back and revisit the most. Like, I want to go back and replay through Other M. So I think that's next on my list of Metroid games I have already played that I want to replay is Other M. So there's certain times every year I'm like, should I go back and play Other M? So I think I should purge that out of my system, and I go play that shortly after this episode wraps up. And talking about this episode wrapping up, I think we have discussed everything that is worthwhile discussing where it comes to Metroid. Anything else to add about Metroid other than the fact that it's fucking awesome? Nintendo need to get off their fucking ass and make another great Metroid game ASAP. That's the thing. One last thing I'll add about Metroid. Other M, new Metroid game on the Wii. I bought my Wii to play Metroid Other M. Nintendo, take note. I actually bought my Wii for one game, which was Other M. Yeah.
So if there's a Metroid game announced for the NX, you'll probably buy that too, right?
Well, I certainly consider it. Yeah.
Okay.
It certainly goes from not being on my radar whatsoever to being on my radar.
Until then,
at the very least.
Until then, people download the remake of Metroid 2. Again, it's called another Metroid 2 remake. Try to find it. It's not hosted on the side of the developer anymore because he got a DMCA claim from Nintendo. Those assholes. But yeah, he the game is still out there. You can find it on torrent sites. You can find it in Metroid fan forums and everything. If you ask around, you will find it. If you look around the web, you will find it. Spread the love, like give everyone that game and tell everyone about that game that you can, so that Nintendo fucking gets the message that people are still interested in Metroid and they don't have to shut this shit down, or shouldn't. So.
And just to note, most commonly referred to as AM2R.
Yes.
AM2R.
AM2R.
So.
There's a 1.0 version, but also he released an update. There's a 1.1 version now too. That's the most recent version you can get. So try to look for that.
All right, and with that excellent recommendation, we've come to the end of this week's Visit the Ocean Floor. So please sound off in the comment section if you have any opinions on the Metroid franchise. And please join us next time you soar into a nebula atop the back of a mechanized golden eagle.